Raising a child can be tough. Raising two can be even tougher, especially when said two children look exactly alike, because one child could do something totally dastardly, absolutely abysmal, something no child should ever even fathom doing, but saying, I didn't do it, Mommy, I didn't do that, I didn't do anything to the neighbor's kid, they did it over there, no, don't put me in the closet, don't bring out the wooden spoon, let me out, Mommy, no! Parenting can be really maddening and very, very difficult for many. And especially when it comes to two children, and you get to find that out in spades in The Twin, a Shudder original written and directed by Taneli Mustonen, who did Lake Bottom, or Bodom, I forget how it's actually pronounced. Also written by Alexei Hivarninen, who also produced the movie. If I mispronounce either of those names, I do apologize. This stars Teresa Palmer as Rachel. Teresa Palmer, in case that name sounds familiar, Warm Bodies, the beautiful blonde in there, and she plays a mother who is dealing with loss along with her husband, Anthony, played by Steve Creed. Not Creed, his arms aren't wide open. And they are parents dealing with a loss. There was an accident that led to the loss of one of their twin boys. And now they have their twin boy, Nathan. So now they have Elliot, who can't phone home, played by Tristan Ruggery. And they end up moving out of New York, and they move all the way to the Scandinavian countryside, as you do. And it turns out Anthony actually grew up there, in this particular village, this particular area. Kind of convenient when you find out a little bit later on. But, well, they're soon in a battle to basically save their remaining son, their one son that's alive, when they find out some weird shit's going on here. So, I do remember seeing, like, Bottom, again, I watched it, but so many movies blend together, I apologize if I did mispronounce that, and I remember enjoying it, and I haven't seen anything else the director's done, but whatever, I remember enjoying that, so thinking this might not be all that bad, and then I realized, remember the movie The Turning? Well, you shouldn't, it was fucking rubbish, but if you do remember it, the old lady that was in it, the housekeeper, Barbara Martin, who plays a woman named Helen, she was in this. And when I saw that, and then I saw the setting and everything, it started to remind me more and more of The Turning. I will say right now that this movie is far better than The Turning, because it actually has an ending. And the ending will be talked about in the spoilers, but whether the ending for this one's actually any good, at least it was an ending as opposed to The Turning. This movie basically is atmospheric and kind of involves people that aren't, like, oh, you're not from around here. Rachel, wanted to move there with Anthony because they wanted to get away. They wanted to fly away. Yeah, all the way to the Scandinavian countryside. So, yeah, we do see a brief, few clips on the accident. They're driving around cornfields, not through cornfields, and there's an accident, and the son dies, and then all this stuff, and they sell their house, and they move there. And Anthony knows the people there, because he grew up there. Somebody, a particular doctor, actually helped raise him and did a lot for him. There's also Helen, who's kind of the town crackpot that's British, that's apparently a transplant there. And she ends up talking to Rachel and saying, there's some other shit going on here. You may start wondering what exactly is happening, but it turns out something very, very dark and evil is coming for your family. Also, Elliot is acting very, very weird. Everybody starts acting weird, and the question is, who's actually the weird one here? Is it devil worshipping? Is it a pagan death cult? Is it just, craziness? What actually is it? Well, it might actually be an amalgamation of all three. Maybe not. You'll have to find out in the spoilers. The movie isn't necessarily the worst thing I've seen. Unfortunately, it does come apart in the third act. In fact, it really comes apart in the third act. It especially comes apart by the end. And I think it's because they didn't quite understand how to, pay off the setup. It was well done, but it also just kind of fell by the wayside, and they just decided, let's just go for a bit of a goofy ending and everything, where you're just like, I didn't see that coming, probably because it just, it was just kind of basic. It was basic, but also very weird. I will say the acting actually wasn't that bad. I think Teresa Palmer did pretty good. Stephen Creed did fine. The kid, he did all right. It's hard to really judge kid actors. Everybody else in the movie is kind of just a bit part. In fact, there's just a lot of extras that don't really get a whole lot of names. The housing, the housing in the countryside and everything, that looks kind of cool. I don't know why every house in the Scandinavian countryside looks like it came from a grim fairy tale, but nevertheless, it has good atmosphere, and it has some not really decent scared. In fact, I don't think I jumped once here. But there was enough build and foreboding and other stuff that led me to believe we were going to get something better. And ultimately what we got was something decent with some nice ideas, but not the best payoff in my personal opinion. That being said, it is on Shudder. Check it out. Shudder's a great goddamn service, by the way. I'm considering getting AMC Plus, which has Shudder bundled. But for now, I'm just using Shudder because I already have enough streaming services as it is, and sweet fucking Christ, there's so much stuff to watch. Whether it's so much good or bad stuff to watch, I leave you to decide. But it has enough good in it where I can recommend that you watch it, and maybe you'll feel differently about the last number of minutes than I did. But ultimately, it ended up being decent. Not great, not bad, but decent. So I am going to get into spoilers here in just a couple seconds, but absolutely check it out if you want to. It is on Shudder, and Shudder is a great service. But 3, 2, 1, spoilers! Okay, the accident. One twin boy dies, the other twin boy is here. And Elliot starts acting weird. They have a bunch of Nathan stuff that they've shipped over there, despite the fact that they buried him back in New York. And he's saying, well, do you love me more than, or do you love Nathan more than you love me? No, we love you both equally, we just miss him. And, well, why did we leave him, why did we leave him in the ground? Well, we didn't leave him, he's always there with us. Well, who do we bury then? Bit of a weird thing for a kid to say. So, Rachel ends up having a lot of nightmares. A lot of fucking nightmares. Because she's haunted, obviously. Her mother being haunted by trauma. And it turns out Anthony grew up there. We find out a little bit more about that. He did a book, rather, called The Tip of the Spear, which actually ended up doing pretty goddamn well. And you're thinking, he had major success. A son died. Maybe we're going with a whole thing that we're going to have, a son that ended up, the son, they made a deal with the devil, and the firstborn son had to be sacrificed. Because it turns out that sometimes one twin is always born maybe a minute or two before the other one. Because otherwise, you would need to have something like the Jaws of Life to get twins out of the goddamn vaginas. Anyway, so Helen talks to her and tells her, I lost my husband during something like this. He tried to tell me that something was going on. I didn't believe him. It turns out there's a pagan culture thing about this. Everything has circles in this whole area. Everything has circles. Well, this is going to be really goddamn fucked and weird. So, yeah. There's it turns out the villagers are possibly part of this little sacrificial thing. And that Elliot is being used as a sacrifice to bring Nathan back. Why? Why the hell not? I don't fucking goddamn know. But there's the eternal succubus, the vile deceiver, the spinner of lies. They want to resurrect the devil. So, what does he want for my son? He wants everything from the son. She gets an old camera to take picture, Rachel does, of her son on a swing, but can't find him. She can't see him on the pictures, but she sees one thing on the negative. Oh my God, what the hell's going on? It turns out that, well, this whole creature has taken hold of her son. And oh no, she can't do anything. She gets Helen. She says, Helen, please come help me. No, stop. I can't do this anymore. But then it turns out that Helen goes over there and just looks at the kid and says, you're sick, Rachel. You're sick. I'm leaving. And then the villagers show up, and the villagers murder Helen, I think, because we then get a pagan ritual thing after Helen's found dead, where it turns out that Rachel's going to have another kid, and she gets blood smeared on her because her son dies in the sacrificial ritual. Beach pagan bingo, as I'm calling it. And then she's trying to save Elliot. This is, by the way, after a little bit earlier, there was a ritual thing where she was looking in a mirror to see Nathan, and Elliot basically said, oh, well, look in the mirror, now look at me. Now back to the mirror. Now back to me. I am not the mirror. So anyway, also Anthony is apparently part of this whole damn thing where he says we need to get back Nathan, but we need to sacrifice Elliot. All this stuff's going on. And then it turns out a little bit later, Anthony basically tells Rachel, you're sick. There's actually no Elliot. We only had one son. I was drinking, but I didn't drive. You did. You were going to leave me. You took the kid, and you drove, and you crashed the car and everything, and you created Elliot as a way to cope with it. Saying, oh, we had twin boys. It was a coping mechanism. See, that much I got. That, okay, fine, whatever. It is what it is. The movie started to lose me, though, at this point, because I'm like, okay, wait a second. Like the whole you're sick thing, all right, whatever, this kind of stuff. It became increasingly difficult back in New York to hide how Rachel was. And then she runs off to find Elliot because Elliot is still a figment of her imagination. And she gets in a fight with Anthony, almost ends up killing him in the woods with a rock. Not the Rock. She did not pick up a 250, 260 pound Samoan man and throw him. That would have been funny. They go into a mill that just happens to be out there. And Anthony's like, I'm putting an end to this. I'm going to bury the kid that's not there under all this wheat. Feels the wheat. Nobody gets that reference. But Rachel pushes him off, and he falls on the metal and dies. And can't find Elliot in the saw stuff. Or the mill stuff. And then Anthony's buried back next to Nathan, I assume in New York. And she just escapes a murder charge? Just escapes a murder charge. Because apparently she was in some kind of institution for a little bit after she lost her son. As you would expect, but this is where the movie started to lose me because I'm like, okay, wait, what? It wasn't confusing, but I'm just like, you're, okay, what? So, she's off of a murder charge. Every ghost is in the goddamn car, Anthony and the twin boys, and okay. It had an ending. It just wasn't particularly a good ending. We're like, oh, she has a psychosis and escaped a murder charge. Maybe she's really dead. I don't really know at this point. I'm not necessarily certain I care. Again, the movie has some nice setup and some nice atmosphere and decent performances. I thought Teresa Palmer did fine, but it ended up ultimately fading, tripping over its own feet, and then just falling down a goddamn ravine. So I'm going to give it a B-. It's disappointing because I wanted to almost give it an A-, but it really started to lose me at the end. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.